right, surprise, surprise. Dev rejects CVE severity, makes his GitHub Node IP repo read-only. So let's check this out. Node, security warnings, not a surprise. All right, so I did see this article over the weekend. I saw something, I think it was on my phone. I couldn't remember where I saw this. But a CSVD's nuts. Damn, Pick. Calm down. The popular open source project IP, what do you think it's about? Recently had its GitHub repository archived and made read-only by its developers. Feder and Dutney, due to a CVE report filed against his project, started getting hounded by people on the internet, bringing the vulnerability to his attention. Really shocking. Absolutely shocking that that GitHub actually still sucks. Especially, now that I've never really thought about this in any sort of depth. But imagine you produce a nice little node project, okay? It's not even a very big node project. It's just a nice little node project, right? And then somehow your nice little node project gets relied on by a bunch of people, right? And then at some point, years later, you're like, I'm done with this. And so you just leave. You just don't even think about it, right? It just starts getting used. And then NPM decides to start warning every last person that NPM installs that, hey, your project has security warnings. Just think about the level of bombardment that is going to then happen right afterwards. I mean, it is actually kind of wild that NPM created a harassment tool. If you really think about it, it's like they've created a way to do distributed harassment of service. Okay, a DHoS. They figured out how to do the DHoS, which is kind of nutty when you put these things together. A little quick DHoS, man. DHoS my ass. Okay, hold on. Unfortunately, in Dutney's case isn't isolated. In recent times, open source developers have been met with an uptick in receiving debatable or, in some cases, outright bogus CVE reports filed for their projects without confirmation. Let's go. That was the, for those that don't know that one, that is, we even did a video on it. It's I in LLM stands for intelligence. This is a really great article about, effectively, it just has everything to do with, let's see if he shows any code. Oh, he doesn't show any code. Okay. It pretty much has to do with a bunch of little places in curl where they check the string length or the buffer size and the expected string length and then do a stir copy as opposed to stir end copy. But they pre-check the length. So there is no possibility for overflowing or anything. But all these AIs, all these people trying to get quick bucks with AI bounty program or with hacking bounty programs use AI to generate just thousands of reports and are just absolutely destroying people. But Fireship said that LLMs is very smart now. They are very, very smart comparatively to say my ability to remember facts. Absolutely. But man, they create a lot of noise. This can lead to an unwarranted panic among users of these projects and alerts being generated by security scanners, all of which turn into a source of headache for developers. Dude, DHoS coming in. Let's go. Can somebody try to DHoS my Harpoon project? Do you think can anyone file a CVE against Harpoon and see what happens? I'm kidding. Don't do it. I do not want to get DHoSed. Earlier this month, Feder and Dutney, who is the author of Node IP Project, archived the project's GitHub repository, effectively making it read-only and limiting the ability of people to open new issues, discussions, pull requests, or submitting comments to the project. Boom. Node IP Project exists on NPM.js registry as the IP package, which scores 17 million downloads weekly. Why is weekly downloads this weird metric people show? What is this? I've been seeing this lately. Is this some sort of VC boner medication? What is this that causes people to be talking about this constantly? I do not understand it. It's just oh, cool. Your package is also used in CI. Cause can we be real for a second? 17 million downloads a week? Who's actually who's installing that much NPM? If anything, 17 million installs a week tells me something is wrong with the ecosystem. It's not that something is right with your project. That's what I see. CI/CD's nuts, right? This does not seem like a W. Making it one of the most popular IP address parsing utilities. Hold on. Can we just take a second here and just appreciate this sentence for a quick moment? Can we just take a second and just really appreciate that sentence? That sentence said, hey, here's this IP thing, making it one of the most popular IP packages. Does that mean there are several multi-million download per week IP addressing package utilities in the JavaScript world? JavaScript. Can't you just do something? Can you just do one thing, JavaScript? JavaScript. All right. On Tuesday, June 25th, Indutney took to social media to voice his reasoning behind archiving IP node. There is something that there has been something. What, by the way, what is sick? I mean, I've seen this many times. I've literally never looked up what this means. Right, because I see it in quotes. The sick you see in quotes means marks a spelling or grammatical error. It means that the text was quoted verbatim, and the mistake marks the appearance in its source. It is actually a Latin word that means so or thus. We are all, dude. That's sick, man. Okay, can we all be real for a quick second? How many people knew what that meant before I looked it up? Type 1 in the chat if you knew what it meant before I looked it up. Really? That many people do that? I don't know. Type 69 in the chat if you had no idea what that meant. That you saw it and you just moved on with your life. 69 in the chat if you just saw that and moved on. Yeah, there we go. That wave of 69s is huge. Okay, so I'm not the only one that sees things sometimes and be like, well, that's a weird item. I guess I'll move on. All right, there is something that have been bothering me for the past few months and resulted in me archiving Node IP repo on GitHub. Posted the developer via his Mastodon account. This is probably why we didn't see it. Did someone take a picture of this and post it on Twitter? I think that would help. It has to do with CVE 2023-42282, a vulnerability disclosed in the project earlier this year. Someone filled a dubious CVE about my NPM package, and then I started getting messages from all people getting warnings from their NPM audit. Man, like I said, I never once thought about this as an attack vector. This is just like an entirely new idea in my brain that you could just harass people like this. This is such a crazy attack vector. Anyways, Node.js developers using other open projects such as NPM packages and dependencies in their applications can run an NPM audit command to check if any of those projects used by their application have had vulnerabilities reported against them. There is something that has been bothering me for the past... Okay, we already read that. Someone has filled a dubious... Okay, we already read that. I just posted a comment on the advisory issue right here, asking to remove it. But looking at Dicier's advisories, I see that there might be a larger pattern in place. Yeah, geez, not confusing at all. All right, guys, I just conspiracied so hard. Oh my gosh. I know it's always a picture of the Mastodon account. It's always a picture of a Mastodon tweet. Okay, are you guys ready for this one? I think I just came up with something. Are you guys ready? I'm gonna call this the Jayatan. Okay, this thing is named after Jayatan, everybody's favorite in sync. Jayatan, right? 75. All right. Step 1: file bogus security reports. Step 2: dubious. Ooh, I like the term dubious. Okay, hold on. Let's redo this. All right, I'm gonna give you 3 steps to destroy open source. Naming this after Jayatan. Flip would actually like to make this into a short. I think this is a great idea for a short. Step 1: dubious security reports. This is going to exhaust the maintainers filled with many communications. 2, buy the GitHub project from now the disenfranchised owner of it. Step 3, malware. I didn't even put the ... There's no need for profit. You can just do this. You hit them with the DHoS, denial, a distributed harassment of service attack. You then rescue them, you white knight them, and then you F everybody. Dude, this is like, it's real. This is the psychological attack vector of the universe. Dude, NSA playbook right here. This might be happening already. Yeah, this is unironically us realizing after reading several security articles, I think this is what's happening, right? Security fatigue is a big issue. Yeah, no, I can definitely tell. I can see that in curl. I can see how people, I can see like Daniel from curl definitely was struggling a whole bunch, and you could see that. The new John McAfee play, I know. The CVE has to do with a utility not correctly identifying private IP addresses supplied to it in a non-standard format, such as hexadecimal. This would cause the Node IP utility to treat a private IP address in hex format, such as this, which represents 127.1 as public. Should an application rely solely on Node IP to check if the provided IP address is public, non-standard inputs can cause inconsistent results to be returned by the affected versions of the utility. I guess a quick follow-up. Does this actually do anything? And what I mean by that is that if you hand a private IP address in hex format and this Node IP utility treats it as public, what is the result? What's the security of it? Like, is there any security to this? The reverse is the problem? Well, isn't it just more of a bug? Because then, if you tried to connect to it and it's private, what's going to happen? Nothing? Not routed? 404? It kind of seems like, I guess I don't understand it, right? I really don't understand the issue. Also, I would like to say that passing in an IP address as a hexadecimal address is a real asshole move, okay? I would say that the person who passes in a IP address as a hexadecimal, an IPv4 as a hexadecimal, should get throat punched. And the fact that we even allow that is throat punchable in of itself. IPv6 would like a word. That's why I said IPv4. I specifically knew IPv6 was hex-based, okay? True, should have been base 64. Should have been base 64. AWS doesn't support IPv6. Get wrecked. Get wrecked. Dubious security impact. Public sources suggest that CVE 2023-42282, that's a lot of powers of 2 right there. I mean, there's only one non-power of 2 in here. Actually, I guess 0 is not a power of 2 either. Dude, if only this was a 4, if only this was filed this year, this would have been beautiful. Had originally been scored a 9.8 or critical. 9.8? Dude, I think ass bleed. Which security incident was ass bleed? Was that Jayatan? Jayatan's ass bleed was scored a 7.8 or something like that. And this one was something. And Jayatan's 7.8 was going to be a backdoor into all Linux systems with XZ. So you're telling me that something that could backdoor pseudo privileges on all machines that had the library is of less criticality than a node IP that is an oopsie of the project thinking that a private IP is public. What? That's crazy. And aren't these things it sounds like an AI spam works? Yeah, it sounds like the AI spam works. Isn't the security rating like on a Richter scale too? So a 9.8 is just like absolutely larger than a 7.8. Although Indutney did indeed fix the issue in the later versions of his project, he disputed that the bug constituted an actual vulnerability, and that too of an elevated security. Yeah, that was crazy elevation of security. Richter damn near killed her. Yeah, I believe that security impact of the bug is rather dubious. It is rather dubious. This is super dubious, in fact. While I didn't really intend the module to be used for any security-related checks, I'm very curious how an untrusted input could end up being passed into IP is private or IP is public functions, and then used to verify where the network connections came from. Disputing a CVE is no straightforward task either. A GitHub security team member explained it requires a project maintainer to chase a CVE numbering authorities, CNA, that had originally issued the CVE. Oh, really? So somebody who issues the CVE could then just not respond and just win and just hold the person forever accountable? Wow. That doesn't seem like a good system. CNAs have conventionally compromised NIST, NVDs, and MITRE. Over the past few years, technology companies and security vendors joined the list and are also able to issue CVEs at will. These CVEs, along with vulnerability descriptions and reported severity rating, are then syndicated and republished by other security databases, such as GitHub Advisors. I would say that if whoever published this one, a 9.8, seems like whoever published that one should lose their automatic publishing ability, right? Because that seems crazy. Following the Indutney's post on social media, GitHub lowered the severity rating of the CVE in their database and suggesting the developers to turn on private vulnerability reporting to better manage incoming reports and cut noise. At the time of writing, the vulnerability severity on NVD remains critical. Growing nuisance. The CVE system, originally designed to help security researchers ethically report vulnerabilities in a project and catalog these after responsible disclosure, has lately affected a segment of the community filing unverified reports. Wait a second. Whoa! Are you telling me that somebody created something on the internet and then the internet ruined it? I mean, I personally, just to be completely real here, I'm still waiting for my favorite Mountain Dew flavor of Granny Gushers. They never quite made it, so I'm still waiting for it. Okay? I mean, I was hoping that Bodie McBoatface could deliver me a nice case of Granny Gushers. I mean, I guess to be fair, the internet did name a bridge Chuck Norris, which was pretty sweet. This is why we can't have nicer things? Yeah, absolutely. Have you tried Pepsi Blue? No, Pepsi Blue these nuts. Is that what you're about to do? Granny, what? You didn't know? Was it Mountain? I'm going to be very careful in this search. Mountain Dew, Granny. I'm just going to keep it as Granny. Hitler did nothing wrong, gushing granny, fapple, diabetes, gushing granny, granny squirt, granny grannies, gushing grannies, gooshing grannies, fabulous apple, gushing green granny. This is what happens when you look at this. Dub the dude, the top 10 leaderboard. This is what happens when you give the internet diabetes. Is wild. How many grannies even drink Mountain Dew? Fapple. Yeah, welcome to the internet. This is why you shouldn't do this. This is why you don't give. This was 12 years ago, by the way. This was old internet. Okay? This was old internet, and it was still disgusting. New internet is just even worse. God, I love the internet. I know, I do too. This was nice internet. Yeah, that was nice internet where we all laughed about it. Let's see. I just still love the fact that Mountain Dew literally had Hitler did nothing wrong on their website. Like, why would you let somebody write in anything? Like, you should just know by now that's what's going to happen. Oh my gosh. Unhinged, dude. It's so effing unhinged. Ooh, nice. Look at this one. This is the one we were just talking about. In September 2023, Daniel Stenberg, creator of a well-known software project, Curl. I thought Daniel didn't create Curl. I thought somebody else created Curl and Daniel maintains Curl. I must be wrong. Project Curl rebuked the bogus. Yeah, this is the I. How much do you want to bet? This is the I in intelligence. Oh, bogus CV. Oh, it's a follow-up. Nice. Okay. So this is a follow-up probably to it. Anyways, let's see if they have any of the ones. Yeah, a bunch of undefined behaviors, right? This is very, very funny. The undefined behaviors are just wild. Curl mentioned. Let's go. Anyways, originally scored as a 9.8 critical on severity per NVD's history, the now disputed CVE has its rating dropped to lower than to a low 3.3 after discussions ensued questioning the tangible security impact of the flaw. Yeah, it's crazy that it got through as a 9.8 and now it's been dropped to a 3.3. This was not a unique instance, and it's not the first time it's happened. This has been going on for years, Stenberg wrote, criticizing the CVE entry. I'm not a fan of philosophical thought exercises around vulnerabilities. Yes, whiteboard masturbation of issues is not it. Is definitely not it. There are distractions from real matters, and I find them rather pointless. It is easy to test how this flaw plays out on numerous platforms using numerous compilers. It's not a security problem on any of them. According to Stenberg, the technical details of the silly bug meant it could result in unexpected behaviors, not a security flaw that could be abused. Yet another NPM project, Micromatch, which gets 64 million weekly VC boners, has a high severity redos. Really, a regex? Isn't that a regex vulnerability? Yeah, regex. Yeah. By the way, this stuff is great. A redos is super great. If you can hit somebody with a redos, this is what Cloudflare did to itself. Do you remember that when Cloudflare was absolutely destroyed, it was them updating a firewall rule, and they update it with they redos themselves, which is just so dang funny. Reported against it with its creator being chased down by community members inquiring about the issue. Can you point out at least one library that implements Micromatch or braces that is susceptible to the vulnerability so we can see how it's actually a vulnerability in the real world and not just theoretical? There you go. There you go. Step one. File dubious CVE. Honestly, what I would be doing if I were you guys is every one of these projects that get dubious files or dubious CVEs pointed against them, it's one of two possibilities in my opinion. One, it's script kiddies getting a hold of LLMs, using LLMs to tell them that there's a problem, and then them filing the problem, trying to get some sort of like bonus, some sort of $1,000 bounty program. Or two, I think it is actual bad, like state level actors or some organized actor system in which is meant to overtake these projects by exhausting the creator and then putting in bad stuff. To me, that seems like the only possible outcomes right here. China, right? Because I just somehow doubt it's any person worth their salt to doing actual security research. Regex are already difficult to write. Give an example. It's not hard. Why not both? State-backed script kiddies. Shayna. Yeah, it could be state-backed script kiddies that have LLMs. Shayna, they literally give an intern and be like, yo, bro, I want you to take an LLM and I want you to create some good ones, okay? Go get him, Tiger. Fix the internet. He has no idea that he's about to be the scapegoat of all of the actual... Oh, man, that's even better. Oh, that's even better. In the same thread, the developer, apparently after failing to receive a satisfactory proof of concept exploit from the vulnerability reported, responded with, "I get these issues all the time for things that can't even be vulnerability unless you do it yourself, like regex and low-level libraries that will never be accessed to a browser, unless you're letting users submit regular expressions in a web form that are used by your application." Yeah, I mean, but that's your fault. Because if you let me submit my own regex, the first thing I will do is redos you. I asked for an example of how real-world library would encounter these vulnerabilities, and you never responded with an example. I, too, recently messaged Micromask developers after a third party informed us of a potential risk posted by the project, and it seems like the responsible thing to do at the time. Damn, man. I had no idea that DHoS is real. Unfortunately, as opposed to representing an exploitable vulnerability, it ended up being a nuisance report that developers had already been chased about. Dang. This is real. There's a whole bunch of this. I had no idea this was such a problem. Let's see, hold on. Other than just being an annoyance for project maintainers, the act of getting CVEs issued for unverified vulnerability reports is akin to stirring up a denial of service against a project, its creators, and its wider consumer base for good reasons. Developers of security solutions such as NPM Audit, which are designed to prevent vulnerable components from reaching your applications, may trigger alerts if any known vulnerabilities are detected, and depending on your settings, break your builds. Wow. By the way, anybody that has their builds broken due to NPM Audit, that is wild. Okay, that is a wild day to live in, dude. Imagine that. When I NPM install anything, I get 4 warnings all the time. Jackson had this problem a few months back. I don't know who Jackson is, where someone reported a critical CVE against the project and broke the builds all around the planet. A commentator written in 2023 reacting to the bogus curl CVE. Rather than being a security problem with the project, as other developers stated, the issue represented the inherent nature of recursive Java data structures. Did I just miss something? Oh, Jackson is a library in Java. Okay. Woo! I was sitting there what the hell did I just read? Okay, so someone made a recursive data structure in Java and it's a JSON parser for Java. Oh, okay. Oh, I've used Jackson way back in the day. Okay. That got real confusing there. I really just got confused. Right? Let's see, where is the balance? Reoccurring incidences like these raise the question, how does one strike a balance? Relentlessly reporting theoretical vulnerabilities can leave open source developers, many of whom volunteers, are exhausted from triaging noise. On the flip side, it would be ethical if a security practitioners, including novices, sat on what they thought was a security flaw, so as not to convince the project maintainers. No, I think the thing is, if you literally think you have a security flaw and you can actually reproduce it in the browser and it's not some theoretical bogus thing, you can actually do it, then you should probably figure out a way to email that person. You know what I mean? Try being ethical about it instead. It is always shocking. This happens, and you see this all the time, where somebody finds something that is a vulnerability and they'll just tweet it out. And they're like, hey, I found a vulnerability and blah, blah, blah today. It's just dude, don't do that. Issues in GitHub is a start. No, it's not. If you have a real vulnerability, you should try to be as discreet as possible about it. That's a good step one. You should really avoid just it's called responsible disclosure for a reason. Take at least an attempt to email the person. It's crazy. A third problem arises with projects without any active maintainers. Abandoned software projects that have not been touched in years contain vulnerabilities that, even when disclosed, will never be fixed, and there exists no means to contact the original maintainer. Most of GitHub. My GitHub, in fact. In such cases, intermediaries, including CNAs and bug bounty platforms, are left in limbo. What about XZ? XZ is something a little bit different because that was being snuck into Linux. That one's a little bit different because that was a sneak into Linux, right? Opening an issue saying, do you have a security disclosure process? Ooh, that's a great one. That's a good one. On receiving a vulnerability report from a researcher, these organizations may not always be able to sufficiently vet every such report independently without hearing from the now absent project maintainers that may be compelled to publish CVEs after the responsible disclosure window has elapsed. No simple answer to these problems just yet. Until the security researcher, developer, and vendor communities come together to identify an effective solution, I don't think there is an effective solution. That's the problem, is that CVE is a pretty good, effective solution. It's just that if you expect that to actually work out forever, there has to be like paid people in which reproduce these bugs and validate that it's real, which is just, it's an untenable problem, because if anyone can report, I don't see how it's going to work. You know what I mean? Developers are bound to get frustrated with bogus reports burning them out, and CVE's system becoming flooded with exaggerated vulnerabilities may look like credible on paper, but are effectively moot. Yep. Man. You know, I've only been looking at and reading about security vulnerabilities for like the last few months, and honestly, I feel like every time I read about it, I feel horrible about it. You know what I mean? Like every time I read about it, I feel horrible about it. It just feels like let's see, it's just like reading a crime committed. It does. It feels like all I see are just a world that is so easily taken advantage of, and people have no clue what to do. If anything, all it does is just reminds me about how fragile open source actually is. Like, it's so fragile that it's like shockingly fragile. Support for edge case IP notations. Oh yeah, this is definitely going to be Stone Labs. I immediately just assume Stone Labs is a state actor, right? Really? This is equivalent, dude. This just feels so naughty. This just feels like a state actor. Just come on, bro. Just support 1, 2, 3, 10. 10 and octal, of course. Yeah, all CV are not FOSS. Yeah, yep. You can ping it right now. Yep, a state actor confirmed. Nice, Stone Labs. Is that you? Oh, Stone Labs. Let's go. It just feels like one. Oh my gosh. What? So Stone Labs, can you help me on this one? Why? What were some of these? What were these for? You gotta fill me in. What was it for? Old standard, basically that no one remembers. Oh, it's in the spec. Okay, you're just driving for spec compliance. Fair. That's nice of you. Once upon in 1969, I just thought it's funny AF. State actor confirmed. All right, well, this was great. Stone Labs, by the way, the fact that you're a tier 2 sub on this channel, as I just called you a state actor, is there has literally never been a funnier thing in the universe. Also, octal, leading 0 octal is crazy, by the way. For those that don't know this is octal right here. Crazy. Because, I mean, the parsing of these things are wild, because to know that it's octal, you have to read that it's a leading 0, and then you have to read again that the next one's not an X. Therefore, it's octal, not hexadecimal. Hey, sub sponsored by taxpayer money. Appreciate that, Russia, China, North Korea, wherever it's from. Hey, appreciate that. Hey, the name. I always hated leading 0 octal. It's actually crazy. Hey, whoa, thanks for the tier 3, buddy. By the way, you know what that means? That means you get access to the top shelf, and the top shelf gives you access to asking interviews that I do personal questions. Okay, so we just had Thorsten Ball in there. I'm going to get John Hammond in here shortly. Anyways, hey, the name is the Primogen.